He might actually be the most derivative one of all. I mean, Christ, the same house.
Maybe so, but you forgot the first rule of surviving a stab movie. Never answer the...
I'm bored.
Wait!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. It's your monthly check-in of our most anticipated titles, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace. And yeah, so, per usual, we are looking at some of the smaller horror releases because, as everyone knows, we're getting A Haunting in Venice, we're getting The Nun 2, we're getting Saw 10. Everyone knows about those. We're excited for at least one of them. But what about the smaller films?
Yes, so we're just going to highlight that one of our titles from last month, The Elevator Game, did get pushed to this month. Still excited for that, still trepidatious, mostly excited. And then we also have two queer horror titles dropping this month in My Animal, as well as The Latent Image. And we will have little micro queer episodes on both of those. So keep your ear and eye on the main feed for those.
Yes, but for our non-queer, non-mainstream horror films, why don't you start us off, Joe?
Okay, so I'm starting us off with, I think, one of two very dark, gritty, probably not for everybody titles. So I'm going to talk about Beaten to Death. It is out September 1st in theaters. It is from Australia. And the logline is, stranded in the middle of nowhere after barely surviving a horrific assault, Jack encounters one local after another and quickly learns that a sick game of cat and mouse is about to begin. Battling the deranged country psychos and the harsh landscape, Jack must go to extreme lengths to survive. This sounds like a fucking endurance run, and
yeah, but honestly though, like, it looks bloody as hell. This has screened at festivals, and the word of mouth is positive for this. Yes. I think even Bloody Disgusting gave it a 3.5 out of 5. The poster for this didn't do much for me, but when I finally saw the trailer, I was like, ooh, yeah. Violence.
Yeah, it's extreme violence. It was definitely the reviews that was catching my attention, because I agree that poster is kind of nondescript. I mean, I get trying to hold some of the mystery, and maybe the film just doesn't have that much to it apart from this endurance test, but yeah, so that's Beaten to Death.
All right. Well, mine, I'm 50-50 on this one. So this one is all fun and games, and this will be hitting theaters and VOD same day, September 1st. Starring Sex Education's Asa Butterfield and Stranger Things' Natalia Dyer, this is about a group of Salem teens that discover a cursed knife that unleashes a demon that forces them to play gruesome, deadly versions of childhood games where there can be no winners, only survivors. So, like, I think the trailer highlights a hide and seek and also a hangman game. This looks like teen slasher Ready or Not, which sounds really fun. I don't think the trailer is very good for it. So I'm going particularly just off the cast and just the general premise of this film, that I'm intrigued, but not 100% sold on this one.
Yeah, I don't think that trailer is good. The other weird thing is I thought it was going to be more of a malevolent supernatural entity, and it looks a bit more like something possesses Asa Butterfield, and he just spends most of the movie kind of walking slowly after his friends.
Yeah, he has like the cross on his face, and he's like, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. So it's definitely you know what, this could be interesting. I don't know that I'm gonna rush to check it, especially compared to how many films we're highlighting this month. Like, September is a deep bench, so this one feels like it could get lost in the shuffle unless somebody tells me, oh, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, so I don't know. But what's your next one?
Okay, so my next one is coming September 8th to Shudder. It is a Malaysian film called Blood Flower, and it tells the story of Iqbal, a 16-year-old apprentice faith healer and exorcist, tormented by visions of the dead and spirits from other dimensions. When a malicious spirit begins to wreak havoc around him, Iqbal is forced to harness his supernatural gifts to save his family and friends. That logline sounds very generic, but when you watch the trailer, this has a lot of atmosphere.
Yeah, this looks awesome. This is like totally like this like slipped past me. I said before we started recording, this looks like a Malaysian Evil Dead remake. But I mean, honestly, like, it reminds me a lot of, like, Indonesian horror, like Satan's Slaves, Impetigore, things like that. This also looks like it's emphasizing scares and gore. So I am in on this one.
Yeah. This is one of those helpful times where Shudder distributes the newsletter about what's coming, and we just managed to catch some of these titles because they were not on our radar until literally moments before we were about to record this.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I mean, yeah, it comes out very, very, very soon. So I'm very excited to check this one out.
Nice. All right. What's your next one?
This is another, like, I don't know about this one. So this is Thirst, coming to VOD on September 5th.
Yep.
And basically the logline for this, it's pretty basic, and I couldn't find like a more explicit one somewhere else. But insomnia spreads in a small town, causing fear and panic. As the situation becomes dire, two couples find salvation on an abandoned ranch, but as nefarious characters descend upon the land, claiming it as their own, and chaos ensues. I think this sounds interesting. The trailer for this, admittedly, it seemed like a trailer where not a ton is actually happening, but like they have like really intense music to make up for the fact that there's not a lot going on in the trailer. But I don't know. It could be good, could be not. Again, 50-50 on this one.
Yeah, this one is giving off a very low budget feel, so I'm not sure. I think there's an interesting sense of atmosphere to it. You know, I was interested by the logline because I'm not sure how the insomnia stuff plays into the overall plot. It could be a short that feels like it's stretched to feature length on a low budget, but I don't know. Yeah, this one did attract my attention as well.
I guess it's more like a horror version of that Julianne Moore movie Blindness, where everyone turns blind. Although, why call it Thirst? I guess
that was the other question. I was like, I don't understand the title of this. What does this have to do with anything?
Thirst for sleep.
Sure. Blood? Vengeance? I don't know.
Anyway, you've got a weird one next. What's yours?
Okay, so this is the first of two Norwegian films. There's a lot of good international looking titles coming out this month. So, first of two Norwegian titles, this is Good Boy, and it's coming out on September 8th on both digital and VOD. So, the logline is Sigrid thinks she's met her perfect match with the charming and handsome Christian, but there is one catch. He lives with a man who acts like his pet dog. This is not puppy play related stuff. This seems to have quite a bit more nefariousness to it. So, trying to be open-minded, Sigrid continues the relationship, but soon notices an insidious undertone to Christian. Maybe puppy play isn't as innocent as it seems.
I feel like this could be queer horror because, I mean, do straight people do puppy play?
I don't think so, or at least not in the way that queer people do.
Nevertheless, this looks wild.
It looks weird. It looks very, very weird. I can definitely imagine some people looking at it and saying, is this really a horror film? Is this kind of a dating relationship thriller? This one reminds me a little bit of Fresh, and that sort of like, ooh, be careful who you date. They could be hiding secrets in their house kind of deal. But this is probably the title that I'm most interested to find out what's actually going on.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Again, I also like the title, Good Boy. It's just very cheeky. So I think it's going to be more of like, has like a lot of darkly comedic elements to it.
Potentially, yeah.
All right, well, my next one is another international entry. This is the French and Belgian title, Megalomaniac, which hits theaters on September 8th, but VOD on September 26th. In this film, Martha and Felix are the children of the Butcher of Mons, a notorious Belgian serial killer from the 90s. Unstable and riddled with insecurities, Martha lives vicariously through social media. Her brother, crushed by the family legacy, takes over their father's killings. Harassed and violently assaulted at work, the docile Martha falls into madness and goes through the looking glass into the strange and terrifying world inhabited by her brother. I think this actually looks pretty good. I feel like we don't get a lot of children of serial killers in movies. So the premise alone has me intrigued.
Yeah, so folks, this is the other title that is supposed to be very extreme horror, which is maybe not shocking since it is a French-Belgium co-production. It's like, oh, we're maybe doing some new French extremity here.
The vibe does look very, like the aesthetic is very new French extremity.
Yes, it's very gross. It's very graphic. This is another one that did the festival circuit last year, and it got a lot of good reactions or like strong mixed reactions, but it's definitely not going to be a title for everybody.
Well, that immediately means it's going to be a title for me to watch.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, next up.
Okay, my next one is another Shudder title. This is probably the one I know the least about. It doesn't have an English language trailer yet, and we only know about this because, again, it's coming to Shudder, so it was in their press release. It's called
Mhm.
Nightmare. This is the second Norwegian title, and it is about Mona and Robbie. They're a young couple. Robbie has just landed his dream job, and they've scored an amazing deal on a spacious, if rundown, flat. Never mind that it requires quite a bit of renovation. Never mind the neighbors' constant fighting and screaming baby. Never mind that Mona is suddenly plagued by night terrors, which grow more intense every time she falls asleep. Robbie is eager to start a family, but Mona is hesitating. And even when she starts to kind of give into it, she becomes more convinced that she is being attacked by a mythical demon, the mayor, who is intent on possessing her unborn child. And I'll admit, this one seems like it could be falling into that woman is
Yep.
insane because she's pregnant or she's going through like a lot of turmoil in her life.
Yeah.
So I have my reservations about that, but I do think it looks stylish. And
Yep.
I actually really like the actor who plays Robbie. It's Herman Tomaris from the show Ragnarok on Netflix.
Oh.
He's cute. He's got a lot of kind of like mischievous personality. But I don't know. I'm like, when was the last time we had two Norwegian horror films that we could talk about?
Yeah, yeah. And I watched the trailer for this and I tried to pick up as much as I could via context clues with that synopsis. Yeah, I think it like looks literally interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you, I have the same reservations about it's just gonna be another like pregnant woman insane needs to learn to be a good mother type movies.
Yeah,
We'll see. I don't
we'll
know.
see.
Well, speaking of things we don't like, so the next movie is more genre adjacent, but this is called Condition of Return. And this will
Yes.
hit theaters and cable VOD and Vudu on September 22nd, but it won't hit iTunes, Amazon, and other streaming services until October. But
Okay.
this stars Annalyn McCord, who we love, and
Yes.
Dean Cain, who
Who
we
we hate.
don't. But in this film, Eve Sullivan, McCord, is arrested for committing a heinous crime. And the trailer lets you know that she basically walks into a church and starts shooting a machine gun.
Yep.
Shackled in a police station break room, she is questioned by psychoanalyst Dr. Donald Thomas, Dean Cain, who is tasked with determining her fitness to stand trial. In a contentious interview, Dr. Thomas persuades her to recount her troubling past as she slowly turns the tables, coaxing him into revealing secrets of his own and showing him they may be more alike than he thinks. And
Hmm.
the way that this sounds coupled with the trailer, it reminds me of like a modern day version of Frailty,
Right. Mm.
which also had the framing device of an interview, right? And so I don't know if we're going to be mostly in this break room for the duration of this movie, or if we're going to be doing a lot more flashbacks where it's like, oh, maybe she's actually targeting this Dean Cain character.
Yeah.
I will say it looks better than I thought it was going to, given everything involved with it.
Absolutely. I had never heard of this before I saw it on your spreadsheet. The big draw is obviously Anna Lynn McCord, who,
Mhm.
as you said, like we're big fans of. So it was kind of, oh, okay, well, what could be going on here? The trailer does look better than I expected. Like
Mhm.
it actually looks like it has a touch of money behind it. It's not cardboard sets kind of deal.
Right.
But yeah, my concern is whether this is just going to be people talking to each other in a room, or is there going to be something more to it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people ended up checking out Carter Smith's The Passenger when it came out in August, but the trailer was kind of cut in the same way, where it's like, oh, there's a moment of shocking violence, and then the rest of the time it's two people in a contained space. That movie knows how to do it well. So I'm curious to see if this movie can pull off a similar kind of execution.
Yeah. Yeah. So cautiously optimistic, but we'll see.
Right. Okay. So my final one is a bit of a surprise to me, mostly because this is not the kind of film I normally go for.
Yeah.
It is Deliver Us. It's coming out September 29th on VOD. And the reason I was trepidatious is because this is a religious horror film.
Mhm.
So, when a nun in a remote convent claims immaculate conception, the Vatican sends a team of priests to investigate, concerned about an ancient prophecy that a woman will give birth to twin boys, one the Messiah and the other the Antichrist. This sounds like it could not be more generic, but this trailer has a lot of
Yeah.
visual fucking flair. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Plot sounds blah, but the visuals are selling me on it.
Yeah. I was getting a lot of vibes of like The Witch in this, but also, oh God, what was it was a Mexican film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that we covered for our article series once, and it was in like a 70s lesbian. Alucarda, yes, I was getting like Alucarda vibes from this. And the production design looks really, really, really good.
Yeah. So this is just going to be one of those questions of can a generic sounding plot be overcome by visuals, or maybe it's just like, oh, there's a bad log line here, and the movie's actually really interesting.
I mean, look, Immaculate Conception, putting that in horror, like you, I'm not like a go-to for religious horror. However, if it doesn't pull its punches, I think we could have something really interesting here. All right. Well, my final pick. This is actually going to theaters, but it will be hitting VOD and streamers in October. This is It Lives Inside, in which an Indian American teenager struggling with her cultural identity has a falling out with her former best friend, and in the process, unwittingly releases a demonic entity that grows stronger by feeding on her loneliness. I guess we should probably say that both you and I have already seen this movie, and we would recommend this. Y'all,
absolutely.
There's a lot of creature stuff in this movie. I'm sorry, there's more creature stuff in this movie than I was expecting, which really won me over with it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you watch the trailer for something like Bloodflower or Nightmare, which both seem to have creatures or hauntings in them, but you never really know how much of that you're going to get. I think It Lives Inside isn't selling the fact that there is a full-on practical creature in that movie that you get to see, and it's really effective. I think we're both a little worried that people are going to sleep on this film, and it is definitely worth your time.
100%. And I think maybe it won't do it like as well theatrically, who knows, but I think people will discover it once it hits VOD. But yeah, so that is I think all of the horror films coming out in September. We might have missed one or two. Some might get announced after this video comes out. Nevertheless, we are not starved for content this month.
No, this is very clearly in the lead up to spooky season. Everybody is prepping their horror content, but I'm just excited by the range that we've got. You know, as we've said in a couple of these videos throughout the year, there's been some dry spots, and this is not one of the challenges we're going to have this month.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, until next time, we can cross out this YouTube minisode.
Yep, we'll see you in October, folks.